हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मैं हूं रमन और आज हम देखने वाले क्लास 12th इंग्लिश फ्लेमिंगो के चैप्टर फर्स्ट द लास्ट लेसन के क्वेश्चन आंसर। सो our first question is, what was France expected to be prepared with for school that day? What did France notice that was unusual about the school? What happened put up on the bulletin board? What changes did the order from Berlin cause in school that day? How did Fran's feeling about Mr. Hamel and school change? Who did Mr. Hamel blame for the neglect of learning on the part of students like Franz? How did Mr. Hamel display his love for the French language? How did Mr. Hamel behave as the last lesson come to end? Our last question, how did Mr. Hamel play a tribute to the French language? So let's start. Question number first, what was the France expected to be prepared with school for that day? The answer. France was expected to be prepared with the use of participles for school that day. What was what did France notice that was unusual about the school? When Franz reached the school, he noticed that there was a great silence like Sunday morning. When he entered into the class, he saw that the last benches of the class were full of villagers. These situations were unusual for him. Third question. What had put up on the bulletin board? The German had put up the notice on the bulletin board. This order come from Berlin to teach only German language in place of French language in the school of Alsace and Lorraine. Fourth question. What changes did the order from Berlin cause in school that day? After order from Berlin, everyone was upset, sad, and shocked in Alsace and Lorraine. Everyone was silent like Sunday morning. Mr. Hamel became more sympathetic to his students and taught his last lesson with more patience. The students become more attentive in their classes. Question 5. How did Fran's feeling about Mr. Hamel and school change? Franz was an average student. He hated school and Mr. Hamel. But when he heard about the order from Berlin, he became more sympathetic towards his teacher and school. He developed an interest for Mr. Hamel in the last class of French taken by Mr. Hamel in the school. Franz realized with pain how much French meant to him and regretted not being attentive in his classes earlier. Who did Mr. Hamel blame for the neglect of learning on the part of students like Franz? Answer. He thought it typical with the people of Alsace they would put off learning till tomorrow. Parents are not quite anxious to have their children learn. They put them to work on a farm or at the mills in order to have a little more money. The teacher got his flowers watered or gave them a holiday. He too neglected their classes. Question number 7. How did Mr. Hamel displayed his love for the French language? Answer. Mr. Hamel told them that French was the most beautiful language in the world. It was the clearest and the most logical language. He asked them to uh, it among them, and people were insulted as long as they held last to their language. They had the key to their prison. Last question. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 और क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 दोनों एक ही है, इसके आंसर एक ही होंगे. हाउ डिड मिस्टर हेमल बिहेव as the last lesson come to end? How did Mr. Hamel pay a tribute to the French language? Mr. Hamel stood up in his chair. He looked very pale and tell he wanted to say some parting words, but something choked him. Then he wrote "Viva la France" on the blackboard with a piece of chalk. Then he stopped. He leaned his head against the wall without a word. He made a gesture to the students with his hand to permit them to go as the school was over.